If you learn to return a serve while playing doubles, you can force your opponents to lift the shuttle so you and your partner can quickly take the offensive. This video will help you master the service return on the doubles court. Hi, I'm Coach Kennie and I've been teaching badminton for many years. If you're new here and want to learn how to improve your badminton game, do consider subscribing to my channel. When you are playing doubles, you can take advantage of the bigger court space to strategically place your return of serve. I will be giving you some tips that will help you develop a good strategy for returning a serve and putting your opponents on the defensive. This time, what I will be discussing is the return for the doubles. So most of the times, doubles would have short serves. So from the short serve, it will be good to push it or to make a net shot so that you will be in an offensive mode. But of course, that will depend on the positioning of your opponents. And they are two already. So it would be, really be a bit, challenging to make that first good return. Okay, so there are many spots where you can return your shot. From the short serve, you can do a straight counter, a cross counter, which you have to immediately follow through by moving forward. Anytime you make a short return, a mid-court return, you must follow the shuttle by going to the front, and your opponent will be moving to the back. An option also is to push the shuttle. Again, if you push it straight or if you push it cross, you have to follow it and move to the middle of the court and stay in front because you are already in an offensive mode. Now, you can also lift it, but of course for doubles, you would try to avoid lifting that first return shot because immediately you will be at a disadvantage being in a defensive position. Okay, so you have those options: net shots, pushing, lifting. A good push is not always a strong one. You will notice that international players will sometimes make a soft push in between the opponents, in between the front and the back player, so that both of them will try to get that mid-court shot. Okay, so those are the kinds of return shots you can do. Now, for doubles, if your opponent lifts, which will be rare, I would say do smashes. Attack it immediately. Why? Because if their serve is slightly high, the service will only be until here. So it's a short one. And the shorter you are or the closer you move to the middle and front, the stronger your attack can be. So from here, which is the farthest point for the serve, if it's slightly high, go for the attack. Okay? Now, it will vary how strong or how soft you want to do that attack. So what options you have when you hit the shots here would be, again, a drop, an attack, a smash, or maybe a lift, a deceiving lift. Okay? I will not encourage you to lift because then you're already in a defensive position. So as much as possible from the first shot, try to keep your return shots low so that your opponents are forced to lift the shuttle and therefore giving you that offensive strategy. So another kind of serve that you will be returning is a flick serve. A flick serve is a fast one, normally, put here in the middle. So if your racket is in a good position, in the right position, then you can either drive it back or basing it on your opponent's position, you can deceive and fake and make a lift. Okay? Or you can also pretend you're going to drive it but suddenly make a soft one. Soft shot to the front. So what's important is getting the shot away from your opponents, especially considering that they are two on court. You want to make them move away from the middle, That's your goal, so that it's not an easy return also for them. So try to get your return shot away from your opponents. Here you will see Enrico Chioni doing the return shots for doubles. So what he's doing now is the straight counters. I find that straight counters are really a good way to force your opponent to lift it up. And it is farther from your server as opposed to doing a cross-court counter. So this one is very effective depending on where exactly you put it. Pretty much the same now. You see that Chioni is doing a cross-court net or counter shot. What's important is looking at where your opponent is. When you do the shots, of course, it is advisable to try and make it go closer to the net, but there are instances that you have to make it a little farther than the net depending on what's harder for your opponents. Now you see Chioni doing a mid-court shot, a straight one. The straight mid-court shot is very, very useful, especially if your opponents aren't, they don't gel really well. Like, for instance, they are new partners or they get confused as to who gets it. Now you see Chioni doing the cross-court, mid-court shot. So again, the front player and the back player could be confused as who will be getting it. But normally, the person at the back will be the one to take it. So now I've asked a partner to stand behind me so you can clearly see where the shots are going. Now, even when you do the mid-court shots, there are still variety to it. Sometimes it's closer to the players, sometimes it's way farther to the sides. So you have to see and you have to know which one is more effective. Now this time you see Chioni doing a straight push. So anytime that you have a chance that the serve is slightly high, it's good to use the straight push to the back, just to get your opponent out of the middle with force. Okay. Now you see Chioni doing a cross-court push or drive to the back. When executing shots, do take note that you have to move in a certain way that your opponents can't tell where you're actually putting your shots, because if it's too predictable, then they will be the ones anticipating your shot. So once again, Chioni is doing the pushes to the back. It is you will see that there is variety in terms of whether it's straight or cross, so that the person behind the server will not know where you are putting it. This time it's a lift, although I would highly encourage to do less of the lifts. You still have to use it every now and then from a serve, only for variety. And of course, if your opponents aren't that good in attacking, then you can also use the lift. So this time you see a cross-court lift. So these lifts are good to get your opponents out of the middle. Just make sure that you and your partner are always ready for the shots that your opponents will hit back. When executing your shots, whatever it may be, you have to make sure that it is not predictable, that you don't always do the same kind of return shot, because variety is very, very important. Unless, of course, you've been getting your points with that same return shot, then use it. Keep using it until you can no longer get your points from there. That's the time you change. Now you will see that I am doing a flick serve and Chioni is just slightly tapping it, just making it go down. Okay, so again, you can do a straight of this light tapping, but notice Chioni's movement, even when he's doing the cross-court soft tap, that he tries not to be predictable. Your movement should be the same as when you're going to smash it, as when you're going to lift it, or doing that light tap. So this time, you see Kennie returning a flick serve with a strong straight attack. Of course, this strong straight attack is an effective way to kill your opponent. And if you do get your points from here, do it more often. This time, it's the cross attack. So it also depends on how your opponent's position. Because sometimes we look for the weaker person, and so sometimes the cross court might actually be more effective. So there are many factors when you do a return serve. The positioning of your opponents, who you want to give it to. Here again, I'm doing the flick and Kennie is doing a lift. But you will notice that he tries to move as though he's going to smash it or lightly tap it. And then he's just gonna lift it, trying to deceive the opponents as to what return shot he is making. Another kind of return shot could be directly to the body. It's a body shot. So notice that Kennie is actually pushing it to me, the front player. This is a very difficult one for me to take, especially if I'm not ready. Okay, so this one will be a good return shot. Another is to the back player. Okay, so another variety would be hitting it directly to the body of the back player. Again, you have to keep trying. There is no exact formula as to where you can get your points because opponents differ, opponents vary, and so it's a case-to-case basis. But you have to try these kinds of return shots for you to know which specific return will get you in a better position or maybe immediately get you the point. So these are body shot returns. And if it's strong enough, it will be very, very difficult for people to return that.
If you like playing doubles, it's important to have a good strategy and learn how to play smarter with your partner. Click the video you see on your screen for some double strategies you can use to immediately improve your game. Don't forget to watch my next video so that you can level up your game and be the next smashing success.